Kuzangpo, December 10 is Human Rights Day, and to celebrate it, a group of us got together and talked to several Bhutanese to understand how they think about human rights in Bhutan.
But the protection of human rights is often a difficult process, and we wanted to learn more by exploring human rights in our country, Bhutan. Here's some background.
December 10 commemorates the day in 1948 when the United Nations General Assembly adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
This year's theme, Human Rights 365, expresses the idea that every day is Human Rights Day. It celebrates the notion that each one of us, everywhere and at all times, is inherently entitled to a wide range of rights.
So, we wanted to understand and create greater awareness of human rights.
Through our interviews, we hope to learn how people from different walks of life understand human rights and their roles in protecting these rights.
We also wanted to create awareness for the general public, especially young people, on their constitutional rights and responsibilities.
With this in mind, we hope you learn something about the importance of human rights. Finally, a question that we should ask: what do human rights mean to me?
I think human right is the right that should be given to every human being for him to attain happiness.
It's the right every human being has. Every person is entitled to certain fundamental rights simply by the facts of being human being.
Not having the fear of being judged by people and knowing what you're doing is right.
The mapangachi the do mi wacha semidi the mapangachara chu tendera the shuachin milu luche thobi ki jisulo ngachilo tuangsachi dubala thobangchi ani thobang de mebachin mi lulu thobrura khuminu bala dele the mi salabgale ngachina dulu dimi ki mi chamchi membala daru psiga kapla pa dimi kara mi meba mola so ani beole tendibe teru zamling chisogi hotele bedar besuru the human rights chisungbe.
Basic principle of human rights is how I want to live my life, the way I want to live my life. Let me live the way I want to live. At the same time, let others live the way they want to live, provided it is within the legal framework.
It's a right that someone can enjoy, someone can exercise, and something that will provide somebody with the platform to stand equally amongst equals.
Some of the human rights that I can think of is right to freedom,
right to education, privilege to medical facilities,
the equal rights to bring up power and leadership in our country.
The right to every basic facility and needs.
Civil and political rights. The civil and political rights semitsudi mapara milu gopem waladi kha cheuchime ba kha chara cheba kachimo so jansu towarangati tangachi igana jojin the right to life se dyuni ge wasa chigo ba milu timilu dyuni ge wasa chime ba gaibe dyuni mola chigi banzo chigi chisi chigi chibebe tanga chara te hama dangpu zumbe chigi sek delete tanga chara ne be semchu zumbe yaso wachin dyuni ge wasa midu doro chigi so so right to privacy ra role nyok makiwachin ra du ra zadi ki wase tarang yuppe chidi te da ngachi right to free from torture te milunga chi anju team morungi team ke mi chose mathebe ki team anju ke mi chose telen to chidi the right to the right to the freedom of thought noksa tani ki rawa lulab ni ki rawa azum la shudwalani the political rights mi aji right to vote law, right to be a candidate law, right to have elected representative law. Also govabala also the garata ngachigi the civil and the political right na submela there is chidanga economic, social and cultural rights the hansudi kachu gumo sachin devdalo with dignity be dusu zani thuni iro zulu gobi gi chutope sandigi handusugi right duwala the right to work there is chidanga right to social security kadra jodar bisu ngajulu global security me freedom in the wala so and the answer right to suru hamaten something so ginale to zodibe did sungachi ani do me watch ani is
as an individual we have to be able to understand what are our rights. Say I as a blind person I have the right to live where I want to live. I should have the right to work and earn and support my family, and I should have the right to go where I want to go. So these are there, but we have to be able to initiate ourselves, and to initiate we have to have some financial as well as practical resources.
We are all responsible for taking care of our own human rights, but mostly we depend on the government.
It's very important for the government to let each individual know what their rights are.
Every individual is responsible to give human rights to others and to have your own human rights.
팀디 여바진 배당 짜상 가르 팀도 해벌레 땐데베 딜루 세디베 배급자고 전여바 다네보다로 겐쿠 모마치디 슈루도 봐라 밀로 아니 뛰니기들로 니바테가 힙다 데 팀날로 중기베데 팀날로 데베소 잡맘 팀나 유미데가 짐미기 맞어바진 팀블로 같이 기잡다 찌구르데 같이 마게바진 데 데드로나 같이 이거는 잠수 소자디베로 파가 짐미기 도미서야 봐라 아니 왜 겐쿠디 데 중다 같이 미세
When you are aware about the existence of such rights that are bestowed upon you, the next logical tendency would be for you to demand that right? So when you do that, I think the government is also responsible enough to provide the environment where you can exercise your rights to the utmost level. So from that point of view, I would say, in short, I would say that everybody is equally responsible. Be it individuals, be it families, be it government, be it non-governmental organizations, everybody is equally responsible if you really want to implement and make use of the rights that are bestowed upon an individual.
Our constitution may have the best of all the laws, but if individuals doesn't know what are our rights, and if the policymakers don't implement what is in the law, I think it will not be practical.
Being a party to the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, which I'll now call CEDAW, or the Convention on the Rights of Child, which I'll now call CRC, our agency was actually instituted to promote and protect the rights of women and children in line with the international conventions and treaties that our state is a party to. So from that perspective, we endeavor to fulfill the sections and provisions of the CEDAW and the CRC in the most responsible and respectable manner. We also have specific laws, like this Child Care Protection Act, which fully looks into protecting the rights of a child. Then we have the Domestic Violence Prevention Act, which again looks at a specific issue of domestic violence, which again is a violation of the rights of women. And we try to create an environment where women and children will also feel included, will feel important, will feel like they also have the platform, they also have the same springboard to jump, which will take them to the same height. So this is what we are trying to do. So we try to create that environment where women and children can exercise the rights that are enshrined in the Constitution.
The Office of the Attorney General is the central prosecuting authority. So especially when people are arrested, when people are detained, when people are in prison, the human rights issues comes immediately. It's our duty to really see that whether basic human rights has been respected or not, whether they're given full freedom of expression, of giving a statement, of a right to legal counsel. And after we have received the case in our office, we have a duty to really go into the detail and see whether he or she needs to be prosecuted or not. Then after that, we forward this case to the Royal Court of Justice. Even when you take to the case to the Royal Court of Justice, we have a duty because we have to prove the case beyond reasonable doubt. Until he or she has been convicted by the court, by the final court, then only we can say that he or she is a convict. But until then that, we should always think that he or she is not guilty, is innocent. So for that, we have this big responsibility to take care of all this. We also have a responsibility to advise the government to come up with any new laws, particularly with human rights, based on our experience. So that way we are a bridge in between. So that's why the institution has a big mandate and role, especially from the human rights point of view, when it comes to case law, when we do the prosecution of the cases. So this is what we really do at our institution.
It was initially formed by a group of visually impaired or blind persons. So therefore, in long term, what we hope is to help, support the government, whoever is formulating the laws for persons with disabilities, whoever are doing this, and at the same time, we ourselves will, in due course, advocate on behalf of disabled people to have an act on disabled person. Disabled Persons Association of Bhutan will make sure or support disabled people to have education about. Number two, support in independent living, which means in terms of activity of daily living, in terms of accessibility, in terms of attitude change, so that they themselves can stand. Because as all of our experience shows that until and unless we can live ourselves independently, just saying it's our right does not really function. Right now we don't have any particular law related to disability, which we hope will come soon, although the previous government has signed what we call the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability, CRPD, has been signed in 2010, but it has not been ratified. So we are hoping that CRPD, Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability, will be ratified by the Parliament soon.
In the Parliament, we have a Human Rights Committee consisting of 5 members, and basically what we try to look into is see if there are appropriate legislations in place, right? And if there isn't, then how do we draw it and see how we can protect our people, their rights, basically their human rights. We have instituted this Human Rights Committee mainly to draw legislation so that human rights is not violated in the country. Right now, we do not have much of a human rights violation in the country, but in the future, we can never say. So it is better to have legislations in place, or laws in place, so that the rights of our own people are not violated in the future.
Human rights is a general issue and a complex issue, but you as the young people and even the people who are viewing this program, to do something to make sure that our disabled people in Bhutan, especially children, have the proper care and guidance, not to discriminate, not to think that they are a burden, but they are the future citizens of Bhutan. And even as a disabled people, we can show a lot of good examples and inspiration to the non-disabled people.
The state cannot just go on having these kind of legal provisions and so on and so forth, provide services and all. People should also, as I mentioned earlier, try to exercise their rights responsibly. And by that, that should be one of their main duties.
In the Constitution, you have the fundamental rights, no? And also the fundamental duties. As much as we are concerned about the fundamental rights, I think we should also be concerned about the fundamental duties.
Katara yiru tim dalwa gadebe tade bere besuru wang se chi thobni dulu genku de la sha dula ani genku gara ngachigi deta lalin thabachin dele chamchi, you have a right to demand your right.
Human Rights 2014.